Hello everyone and welcome to Rad Chat live at UKIO. My name is Norman Anderson and I'm joined by fellow host
Joe McNamara.
So we've got a lovely guest. It's just that she's never been on the podcast with us, so let's introduce yourself please.
I'm Sarah Jane Ketterer and I'm a lecturer in radiotherapy and oncology at the University of Liverpool.
How have you got away with it? I'm still processing this. We've known you for so long.
I know. I think I've just managed to avoid it. I've not been brave enough.
Why are you brave enough this year?
I don't know. I feel I'm maybe.
We let you sit down and eat lunch with us.
Yeah, probably. And I'm feeling maybe a bit more relaxed because I'm actually not presenting at this conference for the first time in a few years, so I'm a bit more chilled out probably.
So what are you doing at UKIO? What are you excited to see?
I'm always excited to see all the different talks because there's a lot of things that I'm passionate about. One of the things I'm passionate about, we've just been in a session about simulation and moulage, and that's kind of one of my areas of research or something I'm really interested in, but also things like head and neck oncology is one of my areas, so looking at things like the PPM. I missed the talk on that today because I think it was at the same time as our
Don't worry,
moulage
there's
session.
a great podcast session specifically on PDM.
I knew there would be.
Nick's been on as well and done a full podcast and she's been on today again.
Yeah, I've already lined her up to do a talk for me because I'm on the British Institute of Radiology Special Interest Group for Radiotherapy and Oncology, and we run a conference every year, which will be in March next year. I think it's the 11th, save the date. But I'm always looking for speakers at UKIO as well, people that I think will be of interest to the audience that comes to the BIR. Because I've coached both of you before to come and do talks.
Yes, thank you very much.
So I get a lot out of it, just in terms of like staying current, but also looking at kind of what else is going on, even just outside my area of interest. And I've got a student as well, a recent graduate who's speaking tomorrow. She's presenting her dissertation. It's her first time presenting something like this, so that's quite nice to see a student who I've seen kind of come full circle from first year through to presenting.
What's your dissertation on?
It was looking at BAME experiences of early diagnosis in terms of gynecological cancer and some barriers to early diagnosis. So she did a literature review, but it was a really, really strong dissertation. And I encouraged her obviously to put an abstract in for UKIO, and she's been accepted for an oral presentation. So that's Whitney, who's speaking tomorrow.
It's nice to see people, come out of their comfort zones.
Yeah, because I remember in first year, and we all know what it's like being a first year student, and I think you don't always picture kind of what there is down the line in the future. Because even if you said to me, I always say this to people, if you said to me when I left the University of Liverpool that I'd come back and teach at Liverpool, I would have been like, no, never would have imagined that. But my parents always remind me that on my graduation day from Liverpool, I had a right face on me because I didn't want to leave university because I was so happy there. I had such a good time over those 3 years, made amazing friends, and I was kind of like, yeah, it's amazing to graduate, but I don't want to leave. So now we kind of laugh about it because I've gone back to university at Liverpool. So yeah.
Tell us, what's it like in education at the moment? What are some of the challenges? What are some of the positive elements?
The positive elements are the variety. Because I love the variety. Like I love teaching, and I love teaching about things I'm really passionate about. I teach head and neck oncology. I teach lung, esophagus. I do a lot around simulation. I do a lot around research as well. And trying to get students fired up about research methods can be quite challenging. But because again,
Maybe not methodologies. Sorry.
yeah, because I think when you're a student and you're learning the basics of research methods, you're like, this is all a bit dry. But I think when you can see that practical application of it and how exciting it can be, I've turned into a right old researcher. Because again, I was probably one of the students who didn't think I was that enthusiastic about research, but then when you're more actively involved in it, you see the benefits. It does get you really fired up. So I try and instill some of that in my students. That is probably one of the more challenging areas that I teach, research methods. And then I love also generally the research I do, obviously on a performance group with the radiation-induced skin reaction stuff. I'm involved in
Like in the moulage one, it's not bad.
I know, I wasn't happy about that. I am on the British Institute of Radiology group, so there's loads of different groups I'm involved with. I've done a lot of work on China as well, and it's just opened so many doors to me. Again, experiences that I didn't think I would have. In terms of challenges, there's so many challenges now, and I think it's the diversity been director of studies for our program for quite a few years, so a lot of kind of maybe the challenges or the issues that arise with students are things that I might be dealing with. And having worked for a long time in the NHS, you think, oh, I've seen it all, you know, there's so many different things I've seen, but then you still come across new things with challenges that students are facing, and it's how you help them cope with that then and get through the programme, you know. So probably in terms of the biggest challenge, I would say some of those things are around pastoral care for students. And also it's time. Time is the biggest one, really. Time and resources, because I get enthusiastic about lots of different things, and I sometimes have to rein myself in because I think I'm not going to have the time to go out to that. And you want to be able to do your best when you're involved in anything. So I sometimes have to say to myself, right, be honest, how much time are you going to be able to commit to this? And the research is probably the biggest part for me. And I'm thinking, oh yeah, I want to be involved in that. That sounds really exciting, but you kind of have to try and keep it a bit more.
Yeah, you do want to spread yourself too thinly, do you?
Yeah. But yeah, I do really enjoy it. I mean, there's obviously bits of the job that you'll know yourself, some of the admin, marking. I've got a bit of marking to finish this week.
Although I do like marking dissertations.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Because I learn lots from the students, so that's great. I think sometimes it's when you're marking big modules and the content's very similar. We do have the leadership module. And there's
reflection in there about leadership style.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And that can be a bit monotonous to mark.
Yeah, I don't like that, but I love dissertations. You're right about that. They're probably one of the nicer ones to mark. But yeah, it is like, I think I'm happy that I made the move to academia, because I just feel like the experience is very bad. I've done a bit of travelling and things, and presented at conferences and places I've never gone, you know. So yeah, good.
What do you think some of the challenges are for our clinical practice partners at the moment in supporting students?
It's time pressures, and I think as well, some people kind of, and I was probably guilty of this myself when I was clinical, forget a bit what it's like to be that new student, working with people you don't know that well, new environments, and I think it can be really hard to make students feel like they belong in the department, which is what we want. We want to make them feel like they belong, because this is where they're going to be working down the line. And it's having the time to explain things to students as well, because I think departments are quite high pressure. You've got that throughput of patients, and you don't always have that time to stop and go, right, just wanted to show you how to do such and such. You've maybe not got those many little gaps in the day that you would like to have to spend more time.
Or if there are gaps in the day and the workforce so exhausted, they just need a break as well.
So yeah,
it's a vicious cycle.
Yeah.
Like, I haven't got time, but at the same time, if you take those 10 minutes, that person will be a better register. And hopefully pass that forward. That's what I'm trying to break the cycle.
And they're going to be your future colleagues, that's the thing, you know. So
be your future manager.
Yeah. And I'm always thinking, I want to be creating people who I think they're going to be amazing technically, but also be really lovely to patients. Because you think if I'm going in for treatment, God forbid, or somebody I know is going in for treatment, I want them to have that experience, that they feel that somebody really cares about what they're doing, and is interested in them, and they're not just a patient, or I'm going to choose a health there's a person attached to that.
They're not just prostate patients.
And I really miss the patient contact. One thing I would pick that I really, really do miss is seeing patients. The students laugh at me.
Come and do some work with Rad Chat.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it. I love the students, I love my job, but I always miss the patient contact, but that's why I love doing.
Invite me, I will come, because I love going in. I love going into clinical, and I do try and go into clinical, again, it's the time issue. But I did a research project with Ketterer a couple of years ago where I was interviewing patients having blood radiography, and I absolutely loved it, because I got to go in and spend like half an hour with each of these patients, interview them, have a little chat, and it was very, very nice, because I really do miss it, because you see, again, such a diverse range of people, and you hear people's life stories, you get to know them a bit during treatment, so I really do miss that side of it. I mean, students become kind of your surrogate patients, if that makes sense. But yeah, it's not quite the same.
I think it's challenging for students as well
know what you're going to be doing at the end. But it's not that it closes doors, very much it opens a lot of doors.
One of my radiotherapy students is here working for a diagnostic sonography company, and you just think, that never featured as part of your degree program, but helps and supports you in what you're doing. So it's maybe not being closed off to other opportunities that maybe comes later.
Definitely. And just be enthusiastic about things.
Take chances, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Put yourself out your comfort zone. That's what I always say to people, because that's what I'm doing right now.
But you can always come back, can't you? You can always, there's nothing to say you can't go explore, or if you can't get a job in the sector, think, well, actually, I will try and do other things. But you can always then come back.
And I did that because I worked clinically, then I worked for oncology imaging systems for about 3 years. I missed the patients and came back to clinical for about another 7 years, and then I came to uni, so I've had kind of a variety of experience.
Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on our new Rad Chat.
I know, it's very nice.